static balance, there's a couple ways to cheat, and that is don't have the bike running, because static balance is just that. You're not going anywhere. So we'll start with a quick practice. The wheels, the bars are not quite full lock. Full lock is pretty far, and what happens is it actually tends to bring the rider way too far forward, and we don't want that. We want the weight over the pegs, because eventually we're going to be able to take our hands off the bars and not have any issues. So the other thing I like to do, this is tip number 3.5, is when I'm making sure that the bike is straight up and down, is I'll put some weight down into the ground through the bike and just lock the brakes. So what happens next is I keep the bike straight up and down. The majority of the weight that I'm pushing on is on my right foot. And I'm just going to bring my left foot up slowly. The brakes are locked. And I'm just focusing on something off camera here, right in front of me. Don't look off to the side. Don't have a conversation with somebody until you're ready to. And once you start to build this inner zone of balance, is you want to keep working your weight back farther and farther back as you do it. So let's set up and try that again. So again, we're just going to give the bike a little stab, compress the suspension a little bit, and slowly lift your left foot off the ground. Don't try and jerk it, because that's just going to throw your balance right off. Nice and slow. Bring your feet up. It's also important to breathe while you're doing this. So, what I was saying about weight on the bars, you notice I've taken my finger off the brake, there it is. So, I've still got my toe on the rear brake, which is fine. And what I'm going to do is keeping the bike between my shins, basically, or between my ankles. Then I'm going to lift my hands off the bars. So this is no front brakes, by the way. So there's one hand. It's off the bars. And we're just going to move the weight over the pegs a little bit farther, maybe a little bit past. And we should be able to get this hand off at the same time. There's definitely something to be said for the gyroscopic effect from the rotating engine. But running indoors isn't conducive to a long life. So we'll refrain from running the bike. Again, it builds that muscle memory, which is so very important. And no, I'm not Italian. I just ride an Italian bike. Don't forget to take a break. You're not used to it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to your core muscles and your legs as well. You've ridden any amount of time on a big bike off-road where you're standing up all the time, just trying to keep everything together. It's a bit of a workout. A lot of this is ending up on the cutting room floor during the edit, so you'll only see the success. So I don't have any weight on the bars, they're just sort of in my hands. And that's the start. So you start building up that muscle memory to get your weight off. Lean back a little bit, be directly over the pegs with your center of mass, and that will definitely help. Leaning forward just sort of adds to the instability, especially if you try taking your hands off the bars where it just doesn't want to work. So I know there's a couple of videos of people changing jerseys and whatnot. I'm not going to go that far, but the tips are you kind of cheat a little bit to get going, just to build that muscle memory. One thing you can do is on either side of your front wheel put a piece of 2x4, just something that will act like a wheel chock. When your brakes are locked, instead of rotating at the axle, the wheel is trying to rotate, and the chock will help hold it in position, and the brake is acting against that wood sort of as a brake. If I get these in order, in the beginning of the video, number 2 is look forward and concentrate on one spot. That's the biggest thing. You look down at the bike, well, as they said in my motorcycle, my NSF training, if you look down, you're going down. Don't look down at the ground until you have way more confidence in yourself and your abilities to be able to do that. Number 3 is keep your weight over the pegs and try not to move around too much. Number 4 is make sure you start with the bike straight up and down. Whether the wheel's locked or wheels turned or not, it should not matter, and to what side. It's whatever side you feel comfortable with. And it just does not matter. I don't practice on that side very much, and it shows. Ha! So that's just it. I was able to help. I don't have the kickstand down on the bike. Simply 2 small pieces of wood wedged under the front tire. The brakes are not locked, nothing like that. And the bike is standing on its own. So taking that forward, let's see how it works with me on the bike. So we're going to start with the same technique. We're going to have our right foot up on the pegs. We're going to load the suspension a little bit, and then just give the brakes a little yank and lock them down in place. We are then going to slowly lift up our right foot until we have that balance. So right now the wheel is acting on those pieces of wood because I have the brakes locked in the front, and that is creating the stability. It's not making you a balance expert, but it's showing how it feels to do this. It changed my perception of the whole thing just by that little cheat. And I don't know what my longest static balance is without the bike running, but I think it's 2 minutes. And I was having a conversation with somebody at the time, and yeah, it worked out quite good. So this feels amazingly stable. And I'm going to take my finger off the brakes and move my weight back a little bit. You can tell that I'm on the rear brakes. Keep that toe on the brakes just for now. But there we go. So don't try playing patty cake with somebody or anything like that, but just work the bike and let it do its thing. Don't look at the bike. It seems counterintuitive. Well, I can't watch it if I can't balance it if I'm not watching it. But that doesn't work always very well. So there's a stopwatch somewhere on this one that'll put up in the corner, and we can see how long I've gone. I'm not trying to break any records, but for practice, it's just like weightlifting or running or cycling, and it just creates that new personal best. So yeah, it's fun to do, and you can impress your friends, and hopefully hopefully a few people on YouTube, which I'm going to try and do, because I'm a non-expert. I'm not even an amateur. I'm a complete beginner, and yeah, we'll see where this goes. So, like I said, I'm impressing myself. The balance is just there today, and you just can notice a huge difference between the stability with and without the wood, and gaining that muscle memory and just that exposure to the static balance. It's huge, and it's good winter practice where you can't necessarily ride the bike just by mimicking that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that wood out of the way. We're going to try again. No assist. The only thing is the technique. Those 4 plus the bonus tip. Those 4, because the bonus tip doesn't matter here because it's not there. So stab the bike down. Make sure it's straight up and down. Slowly bring up the right foot, the left foot, and start. I almost feel like I'm running out of energy for this, but don't let that stop you from practicing. It's so very important. Otherwise, it's never going to work, and you're going to want it to work at some point, and you just can't make it work. The next part is obviously to do it on the ground and practicing there. Again, bike running or not, no need to waste fuel. If you don't need to, the engine isn't spinning that hard that it will add a tremendous amount of gyroscopic effect. The flywheels on these, I don't know if they have much mass to them or not, but it isn't going to help. The goal obviously is to be able to do it with your tire, with your front tire pointed in the direction you want to go. This just adds stability for anyone starting out. The transition from this to this is just changing the angle that you start and gaining that practice. So in this position, the pieces of wood as the wheel chocks don't do anything because you're not trying to roll forward or backwards. You're solely balanced on that, I don't know, that graham cracker sized traction patch underneath the bike. Probably a little bit bigger in the rear. But yeah, I don't do this very much, but same thing. Start slow. And see where it goes. Just got a little bit of angle, and that's probably going to change everything. There. It'll come with time, and there's another video that I have somewhere that I'll link on Instagram of me with half an hour of practice and on my Enduro bike, and again, static, engine not running, and just trying. I think I got 18 seconds, and that was only after half an hour of practice that one day. The more you do it, the better it gets. And we'll see what my new personal record is, and in the video, and I'll have that in the comments or in the details on for the video. So now that that's done, I think it's time to go edit this and see what we've got.